All right, guys. So today we are going to learn more about indirect objects, indirect object pronouns, and object pronouns. So bear with me here. This is really similar to the concept of direct object pronouns, what we did in our last unit. And a lot of you did really well with that. So if you just think of it simply and don't get too wrapped up into all the grammar, you know, can't think of the right word, but all the grammar stuff, then this will be just fine for you as well. So I have our Gustar formula out, and this is just to remind you that we have already worked with indirect object pronouns with the Gustar verbs that require them to function. So we have seen these before, and we have learned that it really means to me, to you, for him or her. So like with Gustar, if you want to say I like books in Spanish, really you say the books are pleasing to me. Okay, so that's just a little review that we've already seen these, but now we're going to learn how to use them in sentences that don't use the Gustar formula verbs. So, in addition to talking about indirect object pronouns, let's just go over direct object pronouns. So, direct object pronouns or direct objects are the objects in the sentence that directly receive the action of the verb. So if you have a sentence, I eat tacos, it answers the what. Well, what did I eat? I eat tacos. So now indirect object pronouns or indirect objects might be pretty obvious that an indirect object indirectly receives the action of the verb. So in a sentence, indirect objects indirectly receive the action of the verb. So what does that mean? Well, I'll take that sentence I just used, I eat tacos, but I'll say, I am bringing tacos. Okay, so what am I bringing? I'm bringing tacos, but I'm bringing tacos for you. So it answers the to whom or for whom the verb is being performed. So I'm bringing tacos for you. For you is the indirect object. Okay, so it answers the to whom or for whom. And we are going to look at some examples. So I give you the present. To figure out which object in here is the indirect, you have to ask, who do I give the present to? Well, I give the present to you. Okay, so let's just break down the sentence a little. I is our subject, give is the verb. What do I give? I give the present. So the present's our direct object. Whom do I give the present to? You. That's our indirect object. I buy her a dress. Okay, so what do I buy? A dress. So that's our direct object. But I buy a dress for whom? Well, I buy a dress for her. Her is our indirect object in that sentence. So in Spanish, indirect objects are expressed by the use of indirect object pronouns. And that might seem a little bit obvious, but what that means is whenever you have an indirect object in a sentence, the pronoun is always used, whether or not you have an antecedent that clarifies the indirect object pronoun. Whew, that was really grammarly. Okay, we know our indirect object pronouns. So, what pronoun means to me or for me? May. To you or for you is te. To you, for her, to him, for it, lay, to or for us, nos, to or for y'all is os, and then to or for y'all or them, lace. All right, so remember those top four boxes are technically called object pronouns because they're the same between direct and indirect object pronouns. Really, it's just these bottom two boxes that you have to differentiate between the pronouns. Okay, so let's talk about the placement of object pronouns. And we learned a little bit of the placement when we did our direct object pronoun notes. And that was just to keep it simple. We said it goes before the conjugated verb, which is true, but there are other options. So object pronouns are placed either before a conjugated verb, which is what we have been doing, or it can be attached to an infinitive. And we're going to look at examples of that today and then over the next few days. Okay, so there's two places they can go, before a conjugated verb or attached to an infinitive. This next piece of information is really mostly for reference, but there is a chance we might get to present participles this year. So it's also attached to a command. If you can remember learning some of the classroom commands, and it was like turn around is date la vuelta. Raise your hand is levántate la mano. That's because those pronouns get attached to a command. And then we might learn present participles, so that might come up later this year. Okay, but that's mostly just for a reference. And then, of course, in a negative statement, the pronoun is placed after a no. So if you're saying, I didn't buy the shirt for her, it would be no le compré la camisa. And you guys did really well with that, with direct object pronouns, and it's the same rule. Okay, so we are going to look at these sentences, dissect them a little bit, and we're going to rewrite the sentence replacing the indirect object with its indirect object pronoun. So it says, mi madre compró un bolso para mí. All right, so my mom bought. My mom is the subject. That's who's performing the verb. What did she buy? She bought un bolso. So un bolso is our direct object. And for whom did she buy it? She bought it for me. So para mí is our indirect object. So we can replace this para mí with its pronoun, so we don't have to write that whole expression. So my mom bought the purse for me can also be written, and this is really the more common way in Spanish to write it. Mi madre me compró un bolso. My mom bought a purse for me. And sometimes that can still be tacked on to the end for emphasis or clarification, but it doesn't have to be. All right. Yo compré un regalo para ti. Okay, so now you're going to dissect the sentence. What part of the sentence is yo? Good. Yo is the subject. Compré is what? Good, the verb. So I bought, okay, and what did I buy? Good, and for whom did I buy it? Awesome. So I bought a gift for you. So we're going to rewrite that, replacing this indirect object with its pronoun. So yo, what pronoun means for you? Te compré un regalo. I bought you a gift. I bought a gift for you. So it can be said either way. All right. Ella pagó la cena para nosotros. All right, which word is the subject in the sentence? Good. Ella is the subject. What word is our verb in the sentence? Good. Pagó. She paid for. What is our direct object pronoun? What did she pay for? Good. Dinner. And for whom did she pay for dinner? Good. For us. So we're going to replace this. So our sentence is going to change from ella pagó la cena para nosotros to ella nos pagó la cena. She paid for dinner for us. All right, and our last sentence. Okay, so tú quieres regalar tu anillo a ella. So you want to buy, or I'm sorry, you want to gift your ring to her. Okay, so if you notice, you want to buy. We have an infinitive right here. So we're gonna look, first we're gonna rewrite this one way where we're just gonna put the pronoun before the conjugated verb, but we're also gonna do another example where we attach it to the infinitive, just so you can see that. Okay, you want to buy a ring, or I'm sorry, you want to gift your ring to her. So who do you want to give your ring to? Her. So just like we've been doing, to what object or what indirect object pronoun would replace ella? Good. Tú le quieres regalar tu anillo. Or when there's an infinitive, we can attach it. So, tú quieres regalarle tu anillo. So if you notice when you attach it, it all becomes one word. Both of these options are correct. I personally attach my pronouns when I can attach them, just because in my mind, this way you have to say, you want to gift your ring to her. So you kind of have to think ahead of yourself and place things right. But when you have the option to attach it, then you can say, you want to gift her your ring. So when you attach it, just in my head, it makes, more sense when you compare it to English to attach. But both ways are 100% correct. It's personal preference. And again, that can only happen when there is an infinitive in the sentence, attaching it to a verb. All right, guys.